Hi, my name is Dorothy, and I want to tell you the story of my first love. But don't think it's going to be some typical tearful melodrama. No, what happened to me was more like a psychological thriller. I hadn't expected any of it to happen. Are you interested yet? If you are, subscribe to the channel, and then listen to what happened to me. Not too long ago, my parents had moved to a small town in a southern state. It was a very ordinary town, and I had to go to a very ordinary school there. To be honest, I was a little worried about being part of a new class, and whether or not I'd find any friends there. But on the first day I showed up, I realized that I'd been worried for nothing. The kids in my new school were very friendly. Moreover, I quickly made a friend called Ashley, and she gave me a tour of the classes and introduced me to her friends. It's little wonder that we were basically best friends by the end of the day. My first day of school was almost over and I was about to go home, when suddenly I saw a guy in the hallway. He caught my attention at once and I couldn't tear my eyes away from him. He was extremely handsome, and there was something about him that made my heart just beat faster. I wondered why I hadn't noticed him at school before that. Ashley saw me staring and said cheerfully, "Oh, have you fallen under his spell as well? That's Ronald, the coolest guy at our school." I couldn't stop looking at that guy. He seemed like he was perfect. I thought about him all the way home. I was so lost in thought that I even missed my turn. I spent the whole evening waiting for the next day of school so I could see him again. As you might have guessed, I quickly fell in love with Ronald. I went to school every day just to see him during the breaks. And after a while, that just wasn't enough for me anymore. And I grew determined to get him as my boyfriend. When Ashley heard about my plans, she laughed merrily. "That's not gonna work. First of all, he's really cool and has his own clique. And secondly, he already's got a girlfriend. Her name is Melissa." Ashley was right. This wasn't gonna be easy, but I still had to try because all I wanted was to be with Ronald. He always came to school on his motorcycle, so I waited for him in the school parking lot after classes. A few moments later, he came out and started heading for his motorcycle. I bumped into him like it had been an accident and dropped all my textbooks and notebooks on the ground. "Oh, sorry, I didn't see you." I'd expected him to help me pick up my things, but Ronald just threw me a quick glance and got on his bike and drove away. What was that? I didn't think he'd react like that. Seems like it was time to step up my game. Ronald clearly valued his bike more than anything, and I was pretty sure I could use that. I spent a whole evening on the internet, reading everything I could find about motorcycles. I took some notes and made some drawings. By morning, I could easily carry on a conversation about bikes. The next day, I waited until school was over, and I looked for Ronald in the parking lot again. When he appeared, I pretended to be looking closely at his motorcycle. When he got closer, I said, kind of indifferently, "Nice bike, but the shock absorbers seem to be from a different model." Ronald looked surprised and began to tell me about how he'd built his own bike. I had finally found his weak spot. We started talking about motorcycles, and he even smiled at me. I was so happy. We'd almost agreed to meet up again sometime when his girlfriend, Melissa, suddenly appeared next to him. She immediately got on the bike and said, "Ron, we're in a hurry. Let's go already." He smiled at me, got on the bike, and then drove away. I didn't even get a chance to say anything to him. I felt like I'd really fallen for him. His voice, his laughter, and the way he looked at me. I liked him, and there was nothing I could do about it. It seemed like he liked me back too, so I decided I would fight for my happiness. It was time for desperate measures. I started dropping love notes from a secret admirer into Melissa's locker. I also spread a rumor around the school that she was secretly dating somebody else. I didn't have to wait long. A few days later, Ronald made quite a scene. He shouted at Melissa, accusing her of cheating on him, but she only replied that she hadn't done anything of the sort. And that was my cue. While they were still arguing, I walked up to Melissa and handed her the note I'd just written. "Melissa, I think this is for you. Some guy just gave it to me near the school entrance," I said, innocently. Ronald snatched the note out of my hands and read it.
"I knew it!"
he shouted.
"We're done. I'm breaking up with you. I don't want to see you again."
He turned around and he walked away. Wow, I finally did it. I caught up to him in the parking lot and I said I was so sorry for what had happened, trying to sound as sincere as possible. He needed someone to support him. and I was in the right place at the right time. He told me how much he hated betrayals. I said I totally got what he meant. We chatted for maybe a half an hour, and I suggested we meet outside of school sometime. And luckily, he agreed. It was easy after that. When we first met up, we simply went to a cafe. The second time, to the movies. And the third, he gave me a ride on his motorcycle. And after the fourth, Ronald had completely forgotten all about Melissa and was cheerfully telling me about tinkering with his bike in the garage. Long story short, very soon he became my boyfriend. I got what I wanted, and I was over the moon. Naturally, everyone at school noticed immediately. Ashley started asking me, surprised, how I'd done it. I was so proud of myself that I told her everything. I thought Ashley would be impressed, but she suddenly stopped smiling and said thoughtfully, Dorothy, but that's so dishonest. I told my friend that everyone had to fight for their happiness, even if that meant I wasn't going to play fair. Was that so wrong? You think Ronald's ex-girlfriend backed off after that? If only. Melissa kept trying to get him back. One day, she came up to us in the school parking lot and tried to convince him to come back to her. She said she hadn't cheated on him, and it had been someone's stupid joke on her. But I was prepared for that. I long ago realized that Melissa was beautiful, but kinda dumb. So, I had no trouble convincing Ronald that she was lying and couldn't be trusted. Of course, he listened to me, and we drove off together, leaving her alone in the parking lot. A few weeks later, I found out that Melissa wasn't coming to school anymore because she'd transferred to another one without saying anything. I felt like this was a huge victory. Ronald and I spent a lot of time together. At first, I was completely captivated by him. Then, I got used to him and just enjoyed being the girlfriend of the coolest guy in school. But something changed. After a while, he started to annoy me. The thing was, he didn't talk about anything other than his motorcycle. He wasn't interested in anything else. He didn't watch or read anything. And after a while, he told me, absolutely seriously, that he thought the earth was flat. That's when I realized I'd made a horrible mistake. Ronald was a complete idiot. Why hadn't I seen that straight away? Melissa and he were perfect for each other, but it was too late. He was head over heels in love with me. Only then did I realize what kind of situation I was in. I started to hide from Ronald because I couldn't bear to listen to any more of his stupid nonsense. But the more I ignored him, the more he bothered me. He would wait for me next to the classroom to spend our breaks together, or he'd wait for me in the parking lot after classes. He even started waiting for me outside my house in the mornings. It just got so unbearable, but I couldn't tell him that I didn't want to see him again. I was hiding from Ronald in the school restroom one day when my friend Ashley found me. She asked what I was doing, and I had to tell her that I'd made a mistake and was now suffering from the attention of that idiot. I needed someone to support me, and I asked her for help. But Ashley got angry and menacingly said, "You've ruined his relationship with Melissa, and now you want to break up with him? That is so low! I would never have expected that from you." She left, and I stayed hidden. What was I supposed to do now? I was already losing friends because of Ronald. I just couldn't stay with him. He was annoying me way too much. I just couldn't bring myself to tell it to him straight. And then I came up with a brilliant plan. I secretly started dating Nathan, a guy from another class who liked me. It wasn't too hard to achieve. I smiled at him a couple times and I let him ask me out. Within a few days, Nathan was sure that I was his girlfriend. But that wasn't what I needed. I was just waiting for Ronald to find out. Rumors spread very quickly at school. And one day, of course, they reached my boyfriend. He threw a fit in the hallway and accused me of cheating on him. I heard a lot of unpleasant things about myself from him then. But that was what I wanted, right? "Oh, I see how it is. Then we're done. I don't want to see you again," I said, my voice full of hurt. Ronald gave me a look full of hatred and he left. At that moment, I even felt a little scared. Was I overdoing it? But, hey, the job was done. That same night, I dumped Nathan as well, saying that he'd fulfilled his role and I no longer needed him. I was finally free. No one would bother me with their stupid love anymore. After the weekend, I went to school in a good mood. But I noticed something strange. No one was looking at me, and when I came into the classroom, none of my classmates greeted me. They didn't even seem to notice me sit down. What was going on? I wanted to talk to Ashley, but when I approached her, she turned away from me. Now that That was too far. I grabbed her and demanded to know why everyone was acting like this. Haven't you noticed? No one wants to talk to you anymore, she said. You've been so awful, and everyone in the school knows about it. It turned out that right after our fight, Ronald hadn't showed up at school or answered his phone. No one knew where he was or if he was okay. That scared me. Only then did I realize that I'd done something very wrong. But is it really my fault that I fell out of love with the guy after getting to know him better? I mean, what am I supposed to do? Please tell me in the comments down below. After all, I don't think I can ask anyone at my school about this.